Hello, everybody. This is Jeremiah with Man with the Mug. Welcome to episode 1. Today, I have two books that I'd like to read to you guys. One sort of nonfiction, a little bit of a memoir of sorts, and the other one's fiction. I'm going to start off this episode with, can't really see the cover because there's no cover, Walden, Henry David Thoreau. Classic work, classic memoir of a man who was really big on self-reliance and independence. Essentially, Walden, Henry David Thoreau, for a handful of years, lived on his own in a very small cabin in the woods, pretty much cut off from society. And these are some of his musings and thoughts that he learned. I read it several years ago. It's been a little bit, so we're going to read it with fresh eyes together. So, a cup of coffee with me in the morning. If you're watching episode 1 right after the welcome video, this is the same cup of coffee. I'm just still working through it. Actually, I totally forgot. I have a remainder of a French press pot of coffee that is just sitting upstairs in the kitchen. So I'm going to be right back. And I'm actually going to grab that before we start. Refill my cup. Okay. We're back. Still recording. Sweet. Oh. As the mug says, yes, you can, coffee. I might get a question at how much coffee I drink. It's more than I probably should. I've gone through seasons of cutting back and drinking more depending on how life is. And right now, life is just, it's good. It's just busy. Hence why we're starting this channel. So, yes, you can. Some good stuff. French press is a good method for me. I really enjoy it. Maybe I'll talk more about coffee in future episodes. Walden, Henry David Thoreau. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Let us start as an introduction, biographical sketch. I don't know if you guys are there for that. If you are, let me know. I can go back and do another episode on the intro, biographical sketch, if you're curious. Let's start with chapter 1, economy. When I wrote the following pages, or rather the bulk of them, I lived alone in the woods, a mile from any neighbor, in a house which I built myself on the shore of Walden Pond, in Concord, Massachusetts, and earned my living by the labor of my hands only. I lived there 2 years and 2 months. At present, I am a sojourner, in civilized life again. I should not obtrude my affairs so much on the notice of my readers, if very particular inquiries had not been made by my townsmen concerning my mode of life, which some would call impertinent, though they do not appear to me at all impertinent, but, considering the circumstances, very natural and pertinent. Some have asked what I've got to eat, if I did not feel lonesome, if I was not afraid, and the like. Others have been curious to learn what portion of my income I devoted to charitable purposes, and some, who have large families, how many poor children I maintained. I will therefore ask those of my readers who feel no particular interest in me to pardon me if I undertake to answer some of these questions in this book. In most books, the I, or first person, is omitted. In this, it will be retained. That, in respect to egotism, is the main difference. We commonly do not remember that it is, after all, always the first person that is speaking. I should not talk so much about myself, if there were anybody else whom I knew as well. Unfortunately, I'm confined to this theme by the narrowness of my experience. Moreover, I on my side require of every writer, first or last, a simple and sincere account of his own life, and not merely what he's heard of other men's lives, some such account as he would send to his kindred from a distant land. For if he had lived sincerely, it must have been in a distant land to me. Perhaps these pages are more particularly addressed to poor students. As for the rest of my readers, they will accept such portions as apply to them. I trust that none will stretch the seams in putting on the coat, for it may do good service to him who it fits. I would fain to say something, not so much concerning the Chinese and Sandwich Islanders as you who read these pages, who are said to live in New England. Something about your condition, especially your outward condition or circumstances in this world, in this town, what it is, whether it is necessary that it be as bad as it is, whether it cannot be improved as well as not. I've traveled a good deal in Concord, and everywhere, in shops and offices and fields, the inhabitants have appeared to me to be doing penance in 1,000 remarkable ways. What I have heard of Brahmins sitting exposed to 4 fires and looking in the face of the sun, or hanging suspended with their heads downward over flames, or looking at the heavens over their shoulders until it becomes impossible for them to resume their natural position, while from the twist of the neck nothing but liquids can pass into the stomach. Or dwelling, chained for life at the foot of a tree, or measuring with their bodies, like caterpillars, the breadth of vast empires, or standing on one leg on the tops of pillars. Even these forms of conscious penance are hardly more incredible and astonishing than the scenes which I daily witness. The 12 labors of Hercules were trifling in comparison with those which my neighbors have undertaken, for they were only 12 and had an end. But I could never see that these men slew or captured any monster or finished any labor. They had no friends, Iolaus. Should have read this before I read it to you. That's okay. Iolaus. Iolaus. They have no friend, Iolaus, to burn with a hot iron the root of the Hydra's head. But as soon as one is crushed, 2 spring up. I see young men, my townsmen, whose misfortune it is to have inherited farms, houses, barns, cattle, and farming tools, for these are more easily acquired than got rid of. Better if they had been born in the open pasture and suckled by a wolf, that they might have seen with clearer eyes what field they were called to labor in. Who made them serfs of the soil? Why should they eat their 60 acres, when man is condemned to eat only his peck of dirt? Why should they begin digging their graves as soon as they are born? They've got to live a man's life, pushing all these things before them, and get on as well as they can. How many a poor, immortal soul have I met well nigh crushed and smothered under its load, creeping down the road of life, pushing before it a barn 75 feet by 40, its Augean stables never cleansed, and 100 acres of land, tillage, mowing, pasture, and woodlot. The portionless, who struggle with no such unnecessary inherited encumbrances, find it labor enough to subdue and cultivate a few cubic feet of flesh. But man labor under a mistake. The better part of the man is soon plowed into the soil for compost, by a seeming fate commonly called necessity. They are employed, as it says in an old book, laying up treasures with which moth and rust will corrupt and thieves break through and steal. It is a fool's life, as they will find when they get to the end of it, if not before. It is said that, you know what? I think I'm going to stop right there, just for now. Because I don't know how long this chapter is. I literally, before this video started, just grabbed it off the shelf, said, we're going to read Walden. Sat down and started recording. So some of the Greek words that are referenced in here, honestly, I should probably do a little bit of a refresher on how to pronounce them. Secondly, though, I don't know how long this chapter is because I didn't look. So I don't know how long I'm going to be sitting here reading to you. Oh, this is a long chapter. I've got to get to work. Conviction. Slowing down. We're not thinking about work right now. Caught myself. So I'm going to stop here for now. One, because I need to reorient myself with pronunciations of words that I might not be familiar with. Plus, there's some Latin in here as well. And 2, this is a long chapter, so I'm going to break it up into sections. This will be the first video. Bear with me. I appreciate you even just watching to the end here. I am excited to dive into this because, honestly, of one of the most recent paragraphs, the paragraph where he says, "But men labor under a mistake. The better part of a man is soon plowed into the soil for compost. By a seeming fate, commonly called necessity, they are employed, as it says in an old book, the Bible, laying up treasures which moth and rust will corrupt and thieves break through and steal." Again, it fits the theme of this whole channel, this whole enterprise, honestly. Just slowing down, enjoying life, not feeling encumbered by the weight of the world and all that comes with that. There's a time and place for feeling the weight of the world. especially if you're part of a justice movement, if you have a really busy week of work, you need to, you have an obligation as an employee to be able to complete the tasks that you're given. But, and with family life, sometimes there are moments you have to put your head down and just get through whatever's going on. But in all of that, after all that's done, you need to be able to stop and feel what's going on, especially as men. I'm not good at that. Slowing down and feeling. My adult life so far has been one big journey of putting words to emotion. And I'm young. Lord willing, I have a long life ahead of me. I can hopefully get to a point where I've got it more figured out than I do now. But I can't do that if I'm just continually plowing through life. And, just laboring under a mistake. Time and place for everything. But I think that, especially as Americans, we forget how to slow down and how to get out of work mode, again, what I like to call go mode, and realize that there's more to life than work. And in fact, if we are working, we should be operating. I was told recently a bit of advice. Again, I'm a Christian, for those of you who don't know, and so was my pastor, that during a sermon gave a really good addendum to what he was talking about, but it was a really good point. He said, we're talking about the Sabbath right now, in general, just the practice of it, and the topic of rest and how we can apply that to our daily lives. And I think it's applicable to Christians and non-Christians alike. The Sabbath day, the whole point of it being implemented was to give rest. And the Sabbath is God's gift to man, not necessarily something we're giving to the Lord. The Lord gives us this seventh day. 6 days you will work and you'll toil, but the seventh day you'll rest. 6 days on, 1 day off. And what my pastor said was, a true restful person, or someone that's practicing the Sabbath, is the way to do it is to go into work from a place of rest, not into rest from a place of work. That convicted me, because how often do we go into life in general? We go to work and all we want to do is go back home and rest. And how often do we just want to, we're at work thinking about how comfy my couch is, and I'm excited to keep watching this episode of a show, get back to my book. Even good things as spending time with my family, going out to do things. It's all good. And it's all fun and needed and restful. But if we're operating constantly, going into rest from a place of work rather than work from a place of rest. So what that looks like would be from a weekend, spending time, if you're a Christian, spending time with the Lord and your family and spending time in the Bible. If you're not a Christian, that could just be having a really relaxing weekend, spending time with the people you love, doing things you love to do, and then going into Monday from that mindset of rest, taking that rest with you into work rather than taking the stress of the workday into your rest life, into your home life. No clue if I'm explaining it well, but I've been thinking about that a lot since Sunday, and hope you find some value in it. I definitely find value in that advice, so I think Henry David throws onto something here. I'm excited to start part 2, and again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.